concerned is he about impeachment if they get this ticket majority?
Well, we've already seen this movie. They've already tried it twice. I'm certain they would try it again.
President Trump won't be on the ticket in the 2026 midterms, so GOP leaders are discussing ways to turn out the MAGA faithful. One way to do that, talk up the prospects that Trump could be impeached for a record third time if Democrats take back the House, even though Democratic leaders are so far wary of doing so. My new reporting this morning with my colleague Sarah Ferris details how Trump and GOP leaders are plotting their midterm strategy, trying to woo key candidates, including Governor Brian Kemp for a Georgia Senate run. But not all Republicans think the strategy of talking up a potential Trump impeachment is enough to win.
If the Republican campaign message in the midterms is vote for House Republicans and vote for Republican candidates for Senate to stop the Democrats from impeaching Trump, the American people are not going to care because they've seen that show twice, and it didn't matter. It won't work. No.
My excellent panel is back. I mean, look, midterm elections, as we know, are typically very painful for a party in power. We have problems with the economy, concerns about Trump overreach. Democrats are very confident that things will change next November. However, this is a small map. This is a battleground where very few districts are truly at play. There are only 3 Republicans in districts in which Kamala Harris won, which is perhaps why they want to figure out ways Republicans do to animate the base and win a potentially close election here. Look at how they talk about impeachment polls historically among the American public. The first Trump impeachment, just 51% of Americans thought that was not the way to go. Clinton impeachment, 65% of Americans at the time did not think it was the way to go. Even Nixon, as they were moving down that road, 51% thought it was not the way to go. It was a little different after January 6th. A majority of voters viewed it that way. That was a different situation, of course. However, that explains to you why they're trying to amp up the base. What are you hearing about the way that Trump and the Republicans are viewing their chances in the midterms?
I mean, listen, I think they're concerned. Obviously, the economy is going to be the biggest issue. It was certainly in the last election. And Republicans are concerned that they're going down this road of tariffs. What is the policies that they're going to be able to do, especially when you look at DOJ cutting jobs kind of across the country? But this impeachment issue, I think, is red meat for the Trump base. This is something that would galvanize his base to get them out, get them into rallies. This is the kind of fighting mode that Trump likes, and the idea that Democrats are so out of touch. And that's why I think you really see leadership in the Democratic Party saying, like, hey, guys, no, let's not talk about this.
Let's talk about the economy as well. But what was interesting that is there was one of the most vulnerable Senate Democratic candidates, the Senate Democrats, John Ossoff, at a rally back home, just a town hall a couple weeks ago. He was asked about impeachment. He suggested that Trump and his actions on this cryptocurrency venture suggested that perhaps that's enough for an impeachable conduct, or at least an investigation into it. I asked him about those comments that he made.
It appears that the president's business and family are being personally enriched through this cryptocurrency venture. That kind of misconduct, I think, exceeds virtually any prior standard for that kind of inquiry in the House.
It's hard to separate the politics. Republicans are already going after you on those comments. Do you think it'll become an issue in your campaign?
Oh, I stand by those comments 100%.
I mean, we should never take impeachment off the table. We should never take where we see law breaking. We should never take accountability off the table.
That's the tension between what the Democratic leaders want to talk about and what a lot of members say, that they need to hold Donald Trump, what they say, accountable for going beyond the Constitution.
It is a tension. You know, on one side, you have this concern in the Democratic Party around them being too cautious and pulling their punches against the Trump administration, and really almost a yearning, mostly on the progressive base, for accountability. But on the other side, too, you've had really an inconsistency of what to focus on when it comes to that message. Do you hone in on DOJ efforts, on the economy, on tariffs, on immigration, what have you? And we're seeing the collision of those two sources of anxiety here. Those that want the party to focus on the issues and those that actually see an opening for real accountability. What's absent in all of these conversations, though, is actually putting forth a consistent agenda, a consistent plan that you can rebut against the Trump administration here.
Can I ask you just about Trump's mindset as we head into the midterms? Yeah. We're hearing that he's probably going to do a lot of rallies, endorsements. He's very focused on trying to keep the House. What's your expectation of his involvement in the midterms? Because, look, Democrats actually would be happy if he was on the campaign trail.
They would. And he loves nothing more than being on the campaign trail, right? He loves those rallies. And comments like that, what you just played, that is exactly what Trump and his team want to hear. He does best when he's embattled, when he's pushing against something, when he can play the victim and say that he is being targeted. You saw what happened with his numbers. They're looking back at when that first indictment came down and how suddenly he was in the wilderness and then he became the center of gravity for the political universe and really used that and turned it into a galvanizing moment for him. If Democrats continue on this train, you better bet they're going to try to do the same thing. Whether it'll work or not, that's the question.
In the meantime,
as Marco Rubio is poised to take on yet another role, National Security Advisor in the Trump administration, the expected nomination of Mike Waltz for UN Ambassador is setting up potential fireworks at a confirmation hearing. Here's Democratic Senator Mark Warner on a potential upcoming confirmation hearing.
What do you think that his confirmation hearing would be like? I mean, considering what we know about signal games.
I think it would be pretty brutal.
And joining me now is Democratic Congressman from California, our friend Robert Garcia. He represents the district, which includes the Port of Long Beach. He also serves on the House Oversight, Homeland Security, and Transportation Committees. Congressman, before I get to the national security, you were just at a May Day rally in a Republican district. Give me a sense of what people were saying there.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, Alex, just walked off the stage. We're here actually in Palm Springs, in Ken Calvert's district here in California, in the desert, and people are fired up. Look, Ken Calvert won't hold town halls. He won't do rallies. He won't meet with his constituents. And so we're out here answering those questions and firing up voters. And people are demanding why Ken Calvert is going to support cuts to Medicaid, why he's working essentially to dismantle Social Security. And everyone was united in their opposition to Elon Musk, Doge, and these billionaire tax cuts. And so Ken Calvert has a lot of explaining to do, and we're going to keep coming out to this district and other Republican districts and holding them accountable.
Yeah, but how do you answer the question when they're firing away like, how come this, how come that? What do you say?
I mean, well, look, we answer the questions honestly. Republicans in Congress have essentially no ideas. They're insistent on rolling back rights. They want to roll back benefits. They want to cut Medicaid and Social Security. And voters now understand that. They're seeing what's happening. They're seeing prices not going down, but going up. They're seeing what's happening with the tariffs. They're seeing that Donald Trump doesn't care about working class people. And so more and more every single day, the more the Democrats fight and push back hard and stand against these lies, the American public understand that this is on Republicans, and we've got to continue to call them out. And so great crowd, great energy, and I think you're going to see more of that in the weeks to come.
Let's move on to national security. Does all of this reshuffling and Marco Rubio now taking on multiple titles at once, does it increase the national security risk? Are you worried about anything falling through the cracks?
I'm incredibly worried about our national security, as anyone should be. I mean, the idea that Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz and others are essentially putting out our war plans and talking about all of our national security on Signal is crazy. With another reporter exposing secrets, exposing confidential information. We also know that there is just chaos. I mean, Mike Waltz gets, fired from one job to then be maybe promoted to another, even though we know that sources in the administration are essentially coalescing to get rid of Mike Waltz from the National Security Advisor position, which now has happened. So we have no idea what Donald Trump actually wants, except clearly to make us less safe. He's ponying up and creating all these relationships with Putin, with North Korea. Why are we doing this? Why are we not standing up for Ukraine? Why are we not standing up for our allies? Why are we attacking Canada and Mexico, for God's sake? These are our allies in this country. So we should be very concerned about our national security. Mike Waltz shouldn't have one more single job in the government. And if he goes up for UN ambassador, every single Democrat should be voting no and asking the tough questions.
And that notwithstanding, of course, but is it a promotion to go from being national security advisor to the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations? I was told on a broadcast I was hosting yesterday by somebody, the fact is he's being jettisoned to New York. He will be out of the inner circle if he gets the position.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's right. Look, UN ambassador obviously is an important role. Mike Walsh should be nowhere near that position, nor should Elise Stefanik been. But look, they're still giving him another job, a job about diplomacy, when he should be doing absolutely nothing, considering he's putting our national secrets on a signal chain. So he should be fired from government, but so should Pete Hegseth. We should not allow Walsh just to be the one discarded. Pete Hegseth must go and must be fired immediately.
Let's turn to the economy. Your district includes the Port of Long Beach. The executive director of the nearby Port of Los Angeles says shipments from China to the U.S. will plummet 35% next week due to Trump's tariffs. What is the domino effect here? I mean, I know you just came from a rally there. Are folks concerned?
I don't think people understand how serious this is. This is a huge, huge blow to the economy and to workers, what's happening right now. Look, I represent the second busiest container seaport in the United States. Los Angeles seaport is the top one. Combined, most of America's goods coming in from Asia are coming into these ports. We are right now seeing historic declines. We're seeing empty cargo containers coming into the United States. We're now seeing over 30% of a decline in the amount of imports that are coming in from China. This is catastrophic for workers. What you're going to start seeing in the weeks and months ahead is truckers doing less jobs. It's dock workers having less cargo to unload.
You could see the impeachment talk ramping up. We've already seen a formal move to impeachment. We saw it a few weeks ago now. I don't even know. Al Green brought it up. Time is moving both too fast and too slow. But it's happened already in Trump's term. And now you see it happen in the Senate with John Ossoff talk about it. And Democrats need to, I'm going to be honest, I don't want to sound mean. They need to pull their big boy pants up and their big girl pants up. And stop cowering in fear about how Republicans are going to react to them. I remember this. This was years ago. And I was a Bernie guy. But this was something Pete Buttigieg said that I agreed with. And I did not support Pete Buttigieg in that 2020 primary. But he said, no matter what we do, and you tell me if you remember this in the comments, right in the comments, Republicans are going to call us socialists, they're going to call us extremists, whatever. They're going to call Bernie a socialist who literally identifies as a socialist, but they're going to call Joe Biden a socialist. And they did, and they still do. They will call any non-Republican a socialist. And even any Republican that stands against Trump, they'll start calling him that. And so stop defining yourself in fear of the Republicans. So this idea that we shouldn't impeach Trump, we shouldn't move towards that because it'll help Donald Trump. Well, one, you impeached him twice and you won. You impeached him twice. You impeached him and then you won that election. And then also, impeachment is not just about politics. It doesn't, yes, I understand you can't get rid of him unless you have a supermajority in the Senate and all of that. But you also have a job as legislators beyond your partisan tie, beyond wearing the red tie or the blue tie or any tie at all. If the president does things that warrant impeachment, whether he's totalitarian or corrupt or criminal or fascistic or whatever you want to say, if he violates an article of the Constitution and it merits impeachment, then you have to put politics aside and impeach the MFer in the words of Rashida Tlaib.